Total expenditure is made out of four basic factors. We won't go too deep into the definition of each of them, but we'll just present to ourselves those four basic factors. So, total expenditure can be written as a sum of four letters, where each of the letters shows a sector of the total aggregate expenditure in an economy of a country. Observe. So it's going to be namely C plus I plus G plus X and Y. And what this means is it sums up the total expenditure, basically all the factors that have that make up for the total output for total expenditure for the Q for the real GDP. And if one of these factors goes up, then it rises the real GDP level. So that's the idea to remember from this. Now, if you think about an economy and all the subjects that spend money, basically, that buy, then these four basically represent almost every individual and group that takes part in it. So, first of all, we have consumers. That's individual people, households, and so on. Okay, so C is consumers. Then we have I. That's investment. That's namely expenditures by businesses, for example. Okay. The third one is government. Government spending. Let's say government decides it's going to use money to spend on something, and that's again increasing the total expenditure in the economy. And then the last thing, it's also increasing the money flow, and that is net exports. Okay, so you can say exports, but net exports. Net exports. And net exports basically means, so I'm just going to write it right here before we end, that basically means exports minus imports. Okay? So this can even be negative. If the country is importing more than it's exporting, more production, more output is going out of the numbers of that country. So if it's importing, it's sending that money and basically moving that production to another country, and the total expenditure adds to that other country. That part of the expenditure, because the money spent on goods that are imported from another country, when they're paid for, the expenditure for them goes to the other country. But when exports, that means products that are bought by other countries from the observed country, from our country, exceed the imports, namely those things that are bought by our country, by our country from other countries. That means other countries are making bigger expenditures to us than we are making to them. So that means that this last value will be positive. Therefore, net exports is basically exports, so that's all the expenditures that are coming from outside, minus what we're in reverse also doing to the outside, that we're also buying foreign goods as a country. So the bigger exports are compared to imports, the better, the more it rises the total expenditure.